lineup advice for DraftKings and FanDuel. Single game showdown slate for tonight, Monday Night Football Week 10. Miami Dolphins and the Los Angeles Rams. Welcome, I am Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, single game $1 million winner. You guys know the drill by now. We will discuss the injuries that impact tonight's slate, analyze low-risk lineup construction tips, 50-50s, double-ups, head-to-heads, as well as core plays, and high-risk lineup construction tips, strategies, picks, and ideas for the largest GPPs that DraftKings and FanDuel have to offer for tonight. Now, this is a live Q&A. If you're watching, say what's up in the chat. Just say hi. Drop any questions you have about tonight's slate. I will answer them periodically throughout the show. About 30 minutes, 7:30 or so, we will be here. And yeah, looking forward to it. I know a lot of you like the later start times. Most of you prefer the earlier start times. Like I said, this will not be an every week occurrence, just when the schedule dictates it. So doing live tonight, most of the time we will be doing the pre-recorded videos in the morning. Byron, JPT, Ed, Akeem, Eli, Steve, what's up, guys? Appreciate you joining. Appreciate you saying hi. Heath, what's up? Let's get started. Have to start with Tyreek's official questionable tag. However, 30 minutes or so ago, we received word that Tyreek Hill will play tonight, dealing with torn ligaments in his wrist. Sounds super painful. Didn't practice Friday or Saturday, but he's going to try to tough it out and suit up tonight. Officially active. Most reporters said he looked fine in pregame warmups. This is one of those things, though, that can one aggravation and he could be done. So it's a very tenuous situation here. Tough to figure out. First of all, I always tell you guys, if you can project what the field is going to do, that is the number one step in being successful in DFS. And I got to say, it's really tough for us, even as a group that lives and breathes this shit every single football slate. It's tough for us to figure out what the field is going to do with Tyreek Hill. Most industry projections have him lower than what his fully healthy stat line would be. That leads us to believe, when you add in the official Q tag, anytime a guy has a questionable tag, their ownership is generally lowered by casual players clicking in and not wanting to click a guy with a questionable tag. So we think it's going to be relatively low owned. If we pull up our Occupy model here, occupyfantasy.com, Tyreek Hill, we have 21% overall in DraftKings, 5% at captain, 23% on FanDuel, 5% FanDuel MVP. Now, maybe we're a touch low here with the positive pregame reports, but I don't see Tyreek getting up to 15% captain, 15% FanDuel MVP. So it's really about your risk-reward tolerance here for GPPs. Now, you're not going to play him in low-risk contests. And again, it's really tough to know. Like, is he healthy enough to play every single snap? Is he only healthy enough to play high-leverage situations, third downs, red zone, design plays? Is he able to tough it out, and even if he aggravates it, play through the whole game? It's really tough to figure out. But I think with a guy of his upside, when he can drop an 80-yard touchdown on your head and you have 5% captain ownership, it's worth the risk. I would probably only play him in 20 max or 150 max. It's really tough to get there, even in small field GPPs, I think. Now, if he's limited in any way, let's go back to DraftKings. Jalen Waddle is obviously the guy who sees a big bump in target share when Tyreek is off the field. Tyreek's only missed one game in the past 3 years with Tua and Waddle in the mix. In that game, Waddle went for like 8 for 140 and a touchdown. So we know Waddle has immense upside when Tyreek is out of the lineup. And I think he's a good contrarian captain play tonight, just because if Tyreek is limited in any way, the biggest beneficiary is going to be Jalen Waddle. So keep that in mind as you're building. Now, behind Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, River Craycraft was activated tonight off the injured reserve, has not played so far this year. He's min priced $200. Maybe he gets a catch or two. If Tyreek's even more limited, maybe he gets more catches. But $200 is extremely interesting, obviously, as the min price on DraftKings. So Craycraft is in the mix. Malik Washington and Odell Beckham had been splitting that wide receiver 3 role the past couple of weeks. 10 to 15 routes each for Malik and Odell Beckham. Neither one getting high value targets. But if Tyreek's limited in any way, they'll get some more snaps tonight. So just something to think about. Now, Alec Ingold is out for Miami, fullback. A guy we sometimes play in showdown contests just because he does see the field, kind of like a Kyle Juszczyk type of player in this offense. But he's out tonight. Now, I was going to say initially that Jonnu Smith was going to be a little over-owned because he played a lot of snaps last week, but that was with Julian Hill, their other tight end, being out, Julian Hill. Julian Hill's back this week, But I think this all kind of cancels itself out with Alec Ingold being out. So now we see a lot of snaps for Julian Hill, who's no one's going to play at $800. Jonnu Smith should continue having his pretty good role that he had last week. And then Durham Smythe's going to mix in as well as their number 3 tight end. So mixing all sorts of these guys in. All right, let's see here. What kind of questions we got in the chat here? Let me make sure I have no other injuries I'm missing here from Miami. Yeah, we're good. So, okay, let's see what the chat is saying. Super Pete, what's up, man? Haven't seen you in a while. What's up? OJ, first time in the live. Love your content. Love your content. Thank you, OJ. Appreciate it. Let's see. JR is in the chat. Brian, spelled right. Random question: do you have a regular 9 to 5 type job? No, this is my full time. So welcome. Eagles, JPT, Ed, Byron. Okay, let's see. Byron says, I'm in a small field GPP, single entry, 235 entrants on DraftKings. Can you play it as a cash lineup or be more contrarian? No, you have to play it like a GPP, like a high-risk contest, because cash plays are going to be even higher owned in smaller field GPPs. And if you play a cash game lineup, you're going to have the same lineup as 10, 20, 30, maybe 50 people in that contest. So you got to be a little bit different. You got to play the high-risk strategy, play the small field strategy that we highlight in the daily plug. I'll pull it up here for you. Small field high-risk strategy, DraftKings. This section of the plug is what you want to read there, Byron. Ed says, remember when OBJ was good? I do remember those days. Seems so far ago. All right, no real questions. Let's see here. Let's go back. All right, now on the Rams side, Rams injuries. So obviously they're fully healthy at receiver now. Let's hope that Puka doesn't get thrown out of this game. But Kupp fully healthy, full routes. Puka fully healthy, full routes. Demarcus Robinson is their number 3. Jordan Whittington is back. Not really sure how he mixes into this. I can't imagine he sees many snaps over Kupp, Puka, or Demarcus Robinson. But if one of them get ejected again, he could be in the mix. The one question that I think a lot of people have and still can't really get an answer for it, beat reporters don't seem to know. Colby Parkinson saw his playing time slashed last week. And for the first time all season, Davis Allen ran more routes than Colby Parkinson. 22 for Allen, 21 for Parkinson. Previously, this normally looks like Parkinson runs 30 routes, Allen runs 4 routes. Not really sure what happened. Now, there is some speculation that there was an illegal formation or illegal shift penalty that killed the Rams last week, and McVay was not happy about it. Maybe a missed block. Hunter Long missed something. I don't know. Maybe the coaching staff wanted to see what Davis Allen had. I can't really say for sure. Davis Allen's going to be popular as a result. We got him 20% plus on DraftKings. It feels like a 1-week blip to me, and Colby Parkinson gets his normal roll back tonight. And if that's the case, Parkinson is extremely undervalued at $3,400 and extremely underowned at $3,400. I think for tournaments, I'd much rather play into that was just a 1-week benching or injury or something. He wasn't on the injury report for practice this week, but I would say Parkinson gets his normal roll back. It seems better to play a low-owned Parkinson than to play a 20% owned Davis Allen, at least in my book. So just something to keep in mind. Again, it's not something we're going to know. We're not going to have the answers to all these things. I dug deep, couldn't find anything. If you guys saw something that I didn't see, let me know. But Parkinson, if he gets his normal roll back tonight, going to be way overpriced and over-owned. I think it's a great tournament play as a result. Let's see, Brian, Chris was in the chat. Everybody, what's up, guys? All right, let's see. Who else we got here? Okay, Baby Joker, do you think we should start both defenses in this game? So, just for the record, in the past 5 years of showdown slates, a double defense lineup has been optimal twice out of, just think how many showdown slates we've had. 60 a year times 5, 300. You're looking at 2 times out of 300. I typically don't play for that. One defense, sure, both are going to be under 20%. Great differentiators against Tua and Stafford. I like that a lot. Playing 2 defenses is too much, though. All right. Ed says in the chat, and this is a good point. You know, looking at team-by-team correlations, typically you don't think quarterback and running back is correlated. But when Devon Achane has such a high target share, he is correlated with Tua. Whereas Kyron and Matthew Stafford are not correlated because Stafford isn't throwing to Kyron a lot around the goal line. It's mostly just Kyron running it in because he's on McVay's fantasy team, seemingly. But yes, much higher correlation between Tua and Achane than Kyron and Matthew Stafford. Let's talk about low-risk contests, 50-50s, double-ups, head-to-heads. These are the core plays that you can play in tonight's game. The pricing is extremely, extremely, extremely soft on both sites. Guys are priced at, like, why is Matthew Stafford $8,600 as a quarterback? It makes absolutely zero sense for him to be that price. So what we can do, you know the strategy by now. Two quarterbacks, two running backs. We have two workhorse running backs in Kyron and Devon Achane. We have two quarterbacks in Tua and Matthew Stafford. 3,300, generally, not a lot. But as I said, Davis Allen going to be popular. And if you're not the Davis Allen fan, you can play River Craycraft at $200. So a $200 option either way in low risk contests. I'll just go with Allen for now. Now 6,400. Excuse me. You could play Demarcus Robinson or a kicker. What I think I prefer actually is this swapping Kyron and Achane. You play Achane at captain, Kyron here. 7,100. Then you could play Jalen Waddle. And if you really want to get crazy, you could play a mid-range captain and get up to Puka or Cooper Kupp. I don't think so, but I really think you can easily fit the four guys in here, fade the Tyreek situation, play a min-price guy, and get up to Jalen Waddle. Seems like the easy, low-risk approach on DraftKings. Now, this is the part of the show typically where I say, let's go to FanDuel, and we know we can't do it on FanDuel. But guess what? We can actually do it on FanDuel tonight. Look at this. I don't know why Devon Achane is 11K. In what world should he be 11K on FanDuel? It makes zero sense. He should be 1,000,000,000% owned. Kyron, Stafford, Tua, Achane. We could fit two of the top 5 fantasy running backs, two quarterbacks, and still have 9K left over on FanDuel. I'm not sure what the hell they're doing with the pricing today. Now you can fit a kicker. Low risk is crazy easy tonight on both sites, but especially FanDuel. It's pretty wild. I haven't seen this before, or at least it's pretty rare to see. What else we got in the chat? Byron says, am I crazy for thinking about playing Achane and Mostert in the same lineup? So Mostert saw a season low 14 snaps last week. Yes, he did get 12 carries. Let's look at Raheem Mostert. But he's overpriced on both sites, right? In order for Mostert to get there, he pretty much has to, either they have to score like 70 points like they did against Denver last year, or he outproduces or vultures the touchdowns from Devon Achane. And that means Achane's not getting there. So you need a complete onslaught lineup at Mostert's price tag. 10K, look. Yeah, he hasn't. This isn't the Mostert from last year. They're not playing him as much. Achane's getting a ton of work. 10K on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he is 7,400, way overpriced. The only way he and Achane are together is in like a 5-1 Miami lineup. So no, I would not recommend playing them together. Brian says FanDuel high risk, Puka or Kupp, or play both. Let's see what the model says. Let's sort by FanDuel OF index. Our model has Cooper Kupp number 2 and Puka number 6. So Cooper Kupp is your answer there. All right. High risk. I think we've talked about a lot already, right? But let's go through the what I think is going to happen here. Because the pricing is so soft on both sides, we're going to see 4 studs and the rest punts. And the mid-range is going to get really squeezed. So all the kickers, defenses, some of these mid-range guys are going to be really squeezed out in ownership. Same goes for FanDuel, where you can play 4 studs and a kicker. That's just crazy, which means the guys who are like 7K to 9K, who typically might get steamed to 20%, that's not going to happen tonight. So you get really low ownership if you just switch up your construction a little bit. And I'm going to pull up the daily plug, and Bismo, our writer, had a great point here. It's a great way to think about things. This final bullet point, I'll just leave it up on screen so you can read it. But it's basically talking about if you use Davis Allen, basically what the field is going to do if you use Davis Allen or a similarly priced player is Davis Allen plus 4 studs plus whoever fits next. It's kind of what I showed you with the low risk lineup. The field's going to do that. So if you play Davis Allen or you play a 4 stud punt approach, know that everyone's going to do that. So an easy way to get different is to alter your lineup construction a little bit and only play 3 of those studs, or play 2 mid-range players, or play multiple low-owned guys, or leave salary, right? Just playing Davis Allen or Craycraft or Julian Hill or whatever is not going to be enough, because the pricing is so soft that everyone's going to go that way. Now, that's how you should build for low-risk contests. That's how you should build for small field GPPs. But if you want to try to get a unique lineup or a lightly duplicated lineup in large field GPPs, you have to really, really think about lineup constructions tonight and what the field is going to do. No underperforming wide receivers, sadly. Not for this game. We have no underperforming metrics to point us in the right direction. Sorry about that, Brian. It says, when's the last time Puka and Kupp hit together? Would you set a rule one or the other unless you're onslaughting? No, I think, both can get there on receptions, especially if it's a lower scoring game. I wouldn't necessarily rule it out or like make a rule for it. I wouldn't try to build that way, but if I'm building 20 max or 150 max, I would just let the builder fly with it. And yeah, John, great question. With pricing being this soft, would you lower your minimum salary in mass multi-entry? Yeah, so I was using our builder earlier today, and I was getting really restrictive with rules to start, which is what I always like to do. And I couldn't build 100. I tried to build 300 lineups. I couldn't even build 150. I kept getting the too much salary left over error message in our builder. Had to keep lowering the salary lower and lower. So I think leaving salary on the table is a really interesting way to get different in high risk contests tonight. The builder was telling us that right off the bat. So really, really good idea. All right, let's get some final questions in here. 716. We talked about it a lot. I'll go through the all the punt plays just so you guys have a good idea of where they stand, what I think of them, what the model's thinking of them. And then if you have specific questions, go ahead and ask it in the chat. But I think it's a really, really straightforward slate outside of not knowing what to do with Tyreek Hill, which makes it more interesting than if it was everyone was projected properly and we have this super soft pricing for no reason. I mean, it's week 10. I don't know why the hell the pricing is this soft. It makes no sense. So we look at players below 6K, below the Jalen Waddle mark. Demarcus Robinson still running as the wide receiver 3. Right now we have him. Let's pull up his projection. As I said, because people are going to go stars and scrubs, Demarcus Robinson we have at just 8% on DraftKings. That's pretty intriguing, especially in Rams passing lineup, uh, Rams passing heavy lineups. So Demarcus Robinson 8% projected ownership, kind of crazy. Sanders and Cardi, both kickers, going to be under 20%. Now, they're not over 5K, which typically that's the mark. Once you get over 5K, it's hard to get over 20% owned as a kicker. If you're below 5K, we'll typically see one get over 20%. And maybe one of these guys do get steamed over 20%. But the way the pricing is shaking out, they're going to get squeezed. We have both projected under 20% on DraftKings. So kickers, cheat codes this year. They're great high risk pivots, especially in small field GPPs tonight. Jonnu Smith, we expect to be the most popular in this group because of his production last week. $4,400. We have him, I think, at 25% projected ownership. So he's the best ownership play in this range. And again, I thought he would have been overowned, but with Julian Hill back, but with Alec Ingold being out tonight, I think that offset in snaps that he could have missed with Julian Hill being back, he could take. I think Hill could end up playing some of the Ingold role. Jonnu keeps his normal role for last week, so unfortunately he is appropriately priced and projected right now. Defense is under 10%. I mean, we get pick six, primetime Stafford. We get two who make some boneheaded plays from time to time. Defenses have to be great, super large field, high risk plays tonight. Parkinson, we already mentioned him. Again, I am of the belief that it was a 1 week blip in playing time drop last week. If it's not, still no guarantee he doesn't get there on 20 routes run. But with the coaches not saying anything, with the reporters not knowing anything, it just feels like a random occurrence last week. So I would expect week 1 through 8 Parkinson, not week 9 Parkinson. Again, if you guys have seen differently, let me know in the chat, but that's how I'm feeling. Atwell, wide receiver 5, he's 1% owned. No need to play him tonight. Jalen Wright, running back 3, no need to play him. Whittington's back. He's probably wide receiver 4 tonight, as is Tyler Johnson. Beckham and Washington are the interesting guys here. I saw a couple questions about Odell Beckham in the chat. Malik Washington, they've used as kind of a gadget guy. He seems like the most direct backup to Tyreek Hill based on stature, speed, usage. So I would think if you're not playing Tyreek Hill, you think he's limited anyway. I really like Malik Washington to get a couple extra touches tonight. He's their rookie draft pick from this year. Again, that's pure speculation on my part. I think most of the reporters think River Craycraft will be the guy that benefits the most, can play all 3 positions. If Waddle has an in-game injury, per usual, or Tyreek is limited, reporters think that Craycraft is the guy. But I think Washington and Beckham, who have been running routes the last couple of weeks, could be ahead of him on the depth chart. There's a situation where we're not 100% sure, but we might as well lean into the ownership. If we look at projected ownership for Malik Washington, it is 1%. Odell Beckham is 17%. So I'm not a huge fan of the Odell ownership. I think that's probably a little too high. I would much rather play Malik Washington at 1% than Odell at 17%. That is for damn sure. Because Odell has no playing time upside, right? We've seen it the last couple of years when he's been signed by a team. They're not running them out there for 40 routes, even if other guys are hurt. If Tyreek was just fully out tonight, I wouldn't even expect Odell to run 30 routes. I think keep him in the 10 to 20 range, while Malik and Craycraft get the big bump. So I think Malik has the more playing time upside. Who else we got to talk about down here? We've mentioned Those guys, Jeff Wilson inactive. Blake Corum, running back two, probably sees one snap because they're obsessed with giving Kyron every single touch, but he's going to be 1% owned. In non-Kyron lineups, he becomes extremely interesting if he can vulture or, God forbid, Kyron gets hurt. Durham Smythe, Julian Hill, extremely sneaky plays tonight while everyone plays Davis Allen or River Craycraft or Jonnu Smith. They're gonna get a bump in snaps with Alec Ingold out. So Smythe and Hill I prefer, has shown to get more targets this year when he's been on the field. But extremely interesting 1% owned guys in large field GPPs. Ingold, we've talked about being out. And then we have Craycraft and Allen as the $200 guys. All right, let's see what we got in the chat. Byron says, who's my favorite captain tonight? I think it's got to be Waddle. Someone else said in the chat, they asked about Waddle. And yeah, if Tyreek is limited in any way, Waddle can still smash himself. He's due for some big games. He's not underperforming by any means, but he's due for some games. So in this offense, so Waddle's got to be the best captain play. I think we have him at 8% captain on DraftKings, 2% on FanDuel. If Tyreek's limited whatsoever, Waddle should not be that low. So I think Waddle's got to be the best high risk captain and MVP play tonight as well. As Derek in the chat says, it hasn't even been 24 hours since multiple kickers have smashed. Yeah, it's year of the kicker. It's year of the showdown kicker. Kickers are incredible plays on Showdown tonight because no one is building that way. No one's building in the mid-range. Lots of comments about Jonnu in the chat. No one's going to play kickers when they could just play Jonnu. So, again, there is some risk to Jonnu's production not matching what he did last week with Julian Hill back. So I would just definitely keep that in mind. No quarterback in small field? No, their pricing is so atrocious you almost have to play them in small field. They're too good of point per dollar plays not to play them. At least one. Probably both. Justin says, and this is a more generic question, is a no quarterback lineup viable without a defense? No, basically 99, if not 100% of winning showdown lineups feature either a quarterback or a defense. Never both. Never without both. So, yeah, play at least, if you're not going to play both quarterbacks, at least play a defense. Field probably heavy on run game for both teams, rightfully so, says Chris. Consuming too much salary at 3-4 stud receivers on the board. Yeah, it could be. Again, as I said, I think that's the low risk approach, but we're going to see Cooper Kupp in the 30s, Puka in the 20s or 30s, Tyreek in the 20s, Waddle probably in the 30s or 40s. But yeah, I agree. I think the right way to build is running back heavy, but that just means we have tons of upside playing Kupp, Puka, Tyreek, and even Waddle to an extent, especially at our captain spots. So I really like that idea. Brian says, do you have the stats for the winning lineup on DraftKings 5-1-4-2-3-3? I don't off the top of my head. I'd have to pull it up, and maybe I can talk about it in the next video for you guys. As Edward says, press the like button. Yeah, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. I know we hit 10K subscribers, and we're doing that giveaway soon, but just because we've already hit 10K, if you subscribe now, you're still going to get entered into that 10K subscriber giveaway, where you're going to be able to pick a pretty nice gift out of a couple options. So make sure you're subscribed. One, to just help the channel and for you to get notified when we go live or upload videos, but also to get entered into that giveaway. All right, guys, I think that's it. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. Ty says thoughts on Kupp. Feel like he's overpriced. Yeah, Kupp is technically overpriced. Nakua is overpriced. Tyreek is overpriced if he's limited at all. That's what makes them good high risk plays. That's why their ownership is lower. So it makes them better high risk plays as a result. Let's see. Yeah, let's just pull up the ownership on them real quickly. I'll show you. So if we sort by DraftKings flex, we have Tyreek at 21% flex. We have Kupp at 38 and 11. And we have Puka at 39 and 16. So really not that crazy low owned, right? Just a little bit lower than their running game counterparts. All right, guys, the plug's up. It's been updated. Model's up with projected ownership. We updated for the Craycraft and Tyreek news probably 45 minutes ago. So all numbers should be loaded in the model and in the builder. If you have any further questions, hop in our Discord. I'll be in there for the rest of the night, occupyfantasy.com/Discord. Make sure you like, subscribe. The video, I'll be back Thursday. That will be a pre-recorded video. Don't worry. It'll be in the morning for that Week 11 Thursday night showdown slate. NBA guys, if you play NBA DFS, they're crushing it every single night with the live stream. So I know for those of you who are just NFL only, you may get annoyed by the NBA notifications. Stick with it, I promise. But if you're into other daily fantasy sports, our NBA guys are crushing it. So shout out to them as well. I think that'll do it. Good luck tonight, everybody. Appreciate you watching. As always, have lots of options. Anytime you tune in for us, you know it's appreciated. So thank you. Brian for Occupy. Good luck in tonight's Dolphins and Rams showdown slate.